standing here in front of the first tree I ever planted. When I first bought this property back in '94, a friend had a 2-year-old oak tree in his backyard that had sprouted from an older oak tree. And he said, "It hasn't started its taproot yet. I'd like to give it to you for your yard." Well, it's got its taproot now. This is a 25-year-old oak tree, or from 1992. That's how old this tree is. That's the first tree I ever planted. Second tree I planted. A friend in horticulture said she could get me a grafted apple tree that would grow me good, eaten apples. I said, cool. The graft failed, I guess, because what I got is teeny tiny ornamental apples. Sure are pretty, and you should see it in the spring. This is the third tree I planted. This is an ornamental crabapple. It was not meant to be edible apples. There were 2 other apple trees planted and they both failed, so I gave up on apple trees. So this is also the last tree I deliberately planted. This tree also encountered a tragedy. It was about this tall, not quite, when a windstorm took my old canvas gazebo, flipped it up over the fence, and yes, I also planted these 2 cedar trees, same time I planted the oak tree. So they're 30 years old. Well, the gazebo flipped up over and snapped off the top of this tree right down to where that branch is. And so I pruned it and I guided it and I directed it, and it's back up and running. I really thought she was dead. My beautiful red crabapple. This amazing collection of spruce, 7 tall spruce, was here when I bought the house. I lamented that I wanted more sunlight in my house, and someone said, well, why don't you chop the trees down? I says, oh, I'd hate to do that. And someone else said, it won't be a problem. Spruce trees let the light through because they have reflective needles. You'll get a lot more light than you think. 30 years later, I haven't chopped them down. It's true. And these trees have protected my home. The prevailing storm winds come from the west, and these trees are between me and those winds. They are 70 feet tall, and they actually block the wind so well that even in a windy day, my backyard is a pleasant place to sit and rest. This dogwood grew up all by itself. I'm not even sure it's a dogwood, actually, but this little tree grew up all by itself. Now, I've been pruning it because it can totally take over the entire backyard, so I'm just keeping it pruned. The birds love it. The choke tree, cherry tree, and another one that didn't make it, and one behind me. Up there, the 3 choke cherry trees were here when I bought the place. They were planted by the previous tenant. These lilacs were planted by the original home owner. I planted the carragana hedge you see over top of the fence. I planted it from tiny little sprouts, and now all these carragana trees are growing and protecting my home and my fence. I don't have graffiti problems. Now, there's only 2 left. There were 3. These were elm seedlings that refused to die. And anyways, I don't like killing trees, but they were just big enough. So I've been keeping them pruned. And the birds make nests in them. You can actually see a nest right there. And there's another one in that tree. And all summer long they hide in here. And the leaves completely, it just turns into a little square box that needs pruning. So this whole area in summer is filled with birds. Vines grow up over here. This whole area just becomes a wildlife sanctuary. It's wonderful. There's branches underneath. I put my trimmings down on the ground and let them compost, and underneath, fledglings will go and hide under the branches when we come by. And then they'll pop back out and they'll bomb around on the ground doing their thing until their wings are strong enough, and then they'll start hopping their way back up into the trees. So I've always been a tree hugger. I've known for a long time when everybody's finally getting into the public consciousness how important trees are. In fact, it is possible to commune with a tree, but it takes all afternoon, because 1 year in a tree's life is equivalent to 1 day in your life. They move that slow. Trees are very zen. They're here, they're now. They carry within them the memory of all of the here and nows that have been since they first sprouted. But they don't sit and think about what tomorrow will look like. It's sitting under a tree with your back to the tree, closing your eyes and feeling as deeply as you can what you think it might feel like to be a tree. And sit there and try to hear the tree. Try to feel its branches. Try to know what it feels like to have all of your fingers and toes, your toes in the soil, your fingers wiggling in the breeze. Now YouTube is doing a hashtag teamtrees thing where they're going to try and plant 20 million trees. For tree planters, they're going to try some experimental methods in rough land with drones. And they're going to try and get 20 million trees planted. So there's more to it than stepping out into a park and planting some trees in a field. Or even joining a tree planting crew up north, battling the bugs all summer. God, those people are heroes. Now, there's something you can do, the same as I did. Not selling the house. There are financial reasons why it's good to put it off, but one of the number one reasons is to protect these trees. At this point in time, if I sell the house, it will be bought by developers, renting it to people who will not keep up the yard, who will not protect the wildlife. Then when my neighbor finally sells hers, they'll buy it, and then they will take the 2 lots which comprise a large chunk of the block on a corner and turn them into probably row houses, high-end luxury row houses. We're talking about bulldoze and dump truck until the lot is completely flat and there is nothing left but the services. Even that they'll cut back to the street. All 7 fully grown 70-foot spruce trees will get sent to the dump.
The oak tree I have nursed for 30 years? Dump. The apple trees, the chokecherry trees, the carragana hedge, the wild roses, the flowers, everything that lives in this yard.
Gone. Flat. Wasteland. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I have to wait until the right person is found to buy this house. Somebody who values trees more than property and money and houses. And they too will find a way to keep this place going. So that's what I'm doing for Team Trees. I can't afford to spend money on hockey pucks in the wilderness. I can't go up north and tramp through the bugs. But I can protect my trees. Do you have trees you can protect? Can you nurture and water somebody's saplings so they survive? I had to nurture that oak tree for quite a while. I had to nurture the carragana hedge for 5 years. The apple trees, of course, both had to be nurtured. And I still, to this day, in my own way, nurture the spruce by making sure they get a little extra water and love.